This is the Introduction to Strategic Planning lecture. This lecture is adapted from the third edition of Essentials of Strategic Planning by Charles Hill and Gareth Jones. The formal planning process implies that all strategic decision-making is rational, structured, and led by top management. However, some criticisms of the formal planning process include the charge that the real world is often too unpredictable, that lower-level employees often play an important role in the formulation process, and that successful strategies are often the result of good luck rather than rational planning. We live in an uncertain world in which even thoughtful strategic plans may be rendered useless by rapid environmental changes. Therefore, organizations must be able to respond quickly to changing circumstances. According to critics, such a flexible approach to strategic making is not possible within the framework of the traditional strategic planning process, with its implicit assumption that an organization's strategies need to be reviewed only during the annual strategic planning exercise. Mintzberg, writing for the Administrative Science Quarterly in June of 1985, suggested that strategies can emerge from deep within an organization, and therefore he defined strategy as a pattern in a stream of decisions or actions. The pattern is a product of whatever aspects of an organization's intended or planned strategy are realized and of its emergent or unplanned strategy. Strategies that are intended may be deliberately implemented or realized. They may also be abandoned or unrealized. Unintended strategies may spring from anywhere in the organization or emerge and are thus called emergent strategies. In practice, the strategies of many colleges are a mix of the intended and the emergent. The trick for managers is to recognize the process of emergence and to intervene selectively, killing off bad emergent strategies but nurturing good ones. Research indicates that formal planning helps organizations make better strategic decisions. However, one mistake made by planners is to focus on the present, which is known, and neglect to study the future, which is more unpredictable but also more essential for strategic decisions. Studying the future means making accurate estimates of future conditions. One means of accomplishing this is through the use of scenario planning, which was developed at Dutch Royal Shell, and is a helpful forecasting technique. Another serious mistake that is often associated with the use of formal planning is ignoring the potential contributions of any employees that are not part of the top management team. This error is known as ivory tower planning. This approach can result in strategic plans that are formulated by executives who have little understanding or appreciation of operating realities and are not the ones who must implement the plans. This separation between thinking and doing causes more harm than good. Correcting the ivory tower approach to planning involves recognizing that, to succeed, planning must embrace all levels of the corporation or organization. Most of the planning can and should be done by functional managers. They're the ones closest to the facts. The role of corporate-level planners should be that of facilitators who help functional managers do the planning. The best designed strategic planning systems will fail to produce the desired results if strategic decision makers fail to effectively use the information at their disposal. Our rationality as decision makers is bounded by our own cognitive capabilities. Experimental evidence shows that all humans suffer from innate flaws in their reasoning ability, which are called cognitive biases. We tend to fall back on certain rules of thumb or heuristics when making decisions, and sometimes they lead to severe and systematic errors in the decision-making process. However, to the extent managers are aware of their own cognitive biases, they can attempt to compensate for the resulting weaknesses through some decision-making improvement techniques. The prior hypothesis bias refers to the fact that decision makers who have strong prior beliefs about the relationship between two variables tend to make decisions on the basis of these beliefs, even when presented with evidence that their beliefs are wrong. Escalating commitment occurs when, having already committed significant resources to a project, decision makers commit even more resources if they receive feedback that the project is failing. This may be an irrational response. A more logical response may be to abandon the project and move on, rather than escalate commitment. Reasoning by analogy involves the use of simple analogies to make sense out of complex problems. However, because they oversimplify a complex problem, such analogies can be misleading. Representativeness refers to the tendency on the part of many decision makers to generalize from a small sample or even a single vivid anecdote. Generalizing from a small sample violates the statistical law of large numbers, which tells us that it is inappropriate to generalize from a small sample, to say nothing of a single case. The illusion of control is the tendency on the part of decision makers to overestimate their ability to control events. Top-level managers seem to be particularly prone to this bias. Having risen to the top of an organization, they tend to be overconfident about their ability to succeed. The existence of cognitive biases in groupthink raises the problem of how to bring critical information to bear on the decision mechanisms to ensure that strategic decisions made by the firm are realistic. Two techniques that have been proposed to guard against this problem are devil's advocacy and dialectic inquiry. Devil's advocacy involves the generation of a plan and a critical analysis of it. A member of the group should act as the devil's advocate, bringing out all the reasons why the proposal should not be adapted. Thus, decision makers can be made aware of the possible perils of recommended courses of actions. Dialectic inquiry involves the generation of a plan and a counterplan reflecting plausible but conflicting courses of action. A debate between advocates of the plan and those of the counterplan should be considered by senior strategic managers. The debate is intended to reveal problems with definitions, recommended courses of action, and assumptions. As a consequence, corporate decision makers and planners can form a new, more encompassing final plan. One of the key strategic roles of any manager is to provide strategic leadership for subordinates. Strategic leadership refers to the ability to articulate a strategy for the organization and to motivate others to buy into that vision. Strong leaders must meet 6 criteria. Strong leaders have a vision of where the organization should go, are eloquent enough to communicate that vision to others within the organization in terms that energize people, and consistently articulate their vision until it becomes part of the culture of the organization. Strong leaders demonstrate their commitment to their vision by actions and words, and they often lead by example. Strong leaders are well informed, developing a network of formal and informal resources of information that keep them well apprised of what is going on within their organization. They develop back-channel ways of finding out what is going on within the organization so they do not have to rely on formal information channels. Strong leaders are skilled delegators. They recognize that, unless they delegate, they can quickly become overloaded with responsibilities. Besides, they recognize that empowering subordinates to make decisions is an effective motivational tool. Empowerment also makes sense when it results in shifting decisions to those who must implement them. Strong leaders are politically astute. They play the power game with skill, preferring to build consensus for their ideas rather than use their authority to force ideas through. They act as members or leaders of a coalition rather than as dictators. Recognizing the uncertain nature of their forecasts, they commit to a vision rather than to specific projects or deadlines. They also realize that a big change may be more easily implemented in small, piecemeal steps. Finally, strong leaders exhibit emotional intelligence, which includes self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Leaders who exhibit a high degree of emotional intelligence tend to be more effective. The strategic plan, to be of real long-term value, must be treated as an ongoing business process. It must be reflective of the organization's mission and vision. It must evolve and change to reflect changing market and economic conditions. It must be proactive to competitive, market, in economic conditions. If those steps are followed, the strategic plan will institutionalize a culture of continuous improvement and disciplined change. Strategic planning, when treated as a work in progress rather than as a binder on a shelf or a file on a computer, provides